listening to episode 3 of the Bandwagon Fan.
I'm AJ.
I'm Alex.
And I'm Josh. This is the show where we talk all things pop culture. So let's start nerding out together by checking out some of the latest news in pop culture. To start, let's talk about Pringles, guys.
I love Pringles.
Pringles are very annoying to put your hands in, but they taste great.
Shout out to Me Canyon. If you ever watch his videos, he has a hilarious Pringle video.
Well, guess what?
It's not for the weaker stomach, but it's hilarious.
There's a new flavor out
What's the
to
flavor?
Celebrate the new Halo Infinite game that's about to come out. Pringles put out a Halo themed flavor.
What's the flavor?
The flavor is Moa Burger. Have you guys played Reach?
Moa?
Yes, but what flavor is Moa?
You know those ostrich looking things?
Oh,
Those are Moas.
Yeah.
What do they taste
So,
like?
I haven't tried it yet. Allegedly, it tastes like beef, garlic, and ginger.
That sounds awful.
I think it sounds great. It sounds like
try it.
Korean barbecue.
I don't know. The other flavors of Pringles, not for me, guys. Not for me.
Really?
I stick to two flavors, okay? Pizza
What?
and jalapeno. That's
What?
it.
Those are like the most unusual flavors.
Who is this man?
But at the same time, they're the ones with flavor, okay? All
Get
the other ones.
outta here.
Oh, sour cream and onion.
So Josh knows
ranch.
that I used to always be like the person who goes and gets the new flavors of Lay's.
True.
Remember, I used to always get the I used to get all three every time Lay's would roll out the new chips. And we gotta be honest with you, man. A lot of the times, they're just putting things in a bag and picking them out. They're like onion pickle, perfect. Let's try this flavor. A lot of times they don't work. So
It's a food scientist. Sounds like the dream job. Just like mix weird flavors together.
it
and see if people
sounds
buy
like
it.
the dream. It sounds like the dream job, but I don't know. I mean, like, if you work for what company makes those like Harry Potter jelly beans that taste like fart?
Jelly Belly?
Yeah, Jelly Belly. Yeah. So like,
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
if you're that guy, like, how you gonna tell people that you're that guy?
I'd
yeah,
try them all.
Hey, man.
No, but think about
For a
it.
living.
Think about telling your family, being like, I had to spend 2 years of my life developing the taste for fart. Like, that's wild.
Dirty underwear.
Dirty underwear.
That's amazing. No one else has
Booger.
that job.
Like how do you explain to someone how you had to design booger? Like that's
Hey,
pretty
man,
weird.
if you're in that job, you probably don't mind telling people. Let's be real.
Yeah, like how much money do you think these people make? Like,
Probably a decent amount.
He's like, you like that booger jelly bean? That was my booger.
oh.
Probably.
Or like, whose dirty underwear did he have to taste? To get that flavor?
It's his
No,
own. He just went off smell. He's just like,
It was for science.
he's like, this one's ready.
He's like, this is for
one's ready.
science.
That's
But
disgusting.
anyways, yeah. So Halo has their own Pringles now to celebrate the new
Okay.
game. Have you guys seen the campaign trailer that came out?
Every day.
No.
I'm just
I've
really?
just been watching YouTube
Like a-
videos of
like
people
a
that
rabid dog.
Literally, I've
I've
watched
seen
it
videos
once.
of people that don't like the campaign or the multiplayer.
Well, it's not that I don't like the multiplayer. I think everyone's just really frustrated that like the progression in the multiplayer is so painstakingly slow. I mean, the game itself, like, it's probably like the most polished, the cleanest Halo I've ever played, and I've played every single Halo. But that battle pass, man, the battle pass system, modern gaming is the worst. It's just the worst. Call of Duty, Battlefield. Even going back earlier, I think last year, Cyberpunk. I'm tired of these game developers making a game and being like, "We'll fix it in post." Can you imagine like watching like The Witcher, The Witcher comes out pretty soon, and then like there's like boom mics in the shots. You see people with like jeans walking around. They're like, "No, we'll fix it."
So, like Game of Thrones.
Yeah, some Starbucks.
Basically, or Star Wars. Didn't Star Wars have like some dude just like walking in the background?
Yeah,
So it's
I
like,
think.
but can you imagine if that was like the industry norm? Like they're just like, we'll fix it later. Like that's
It could
pretty
be.
wild.
It could be
I-
the industry norm at some point.
I don't disregard it. I'm just saying how wild it is. Like you wouldn't want your car to be like, yeah, well, hey, you know what? I say that actually might be the future. But it's just this idea that like I'm buying something.
All people
then
have to
I
do
have to-
is just stop doing pre-orders, and they'll probably.
I think that's part of it. But I think the other part of it is that gaming is such a unique industry, unlike movies or I don't know any other hobbies like I don't know shooting, for example, if you're into guns or whatever, because it's like it the range of its audience is so wide, right? From like literally like 5 years old to our age to the 50-year-old dudes who used to game in the 90s. Like it's such a wide range, and so you have such a wide audience you appeal to. Activision, Call of Duty, they just taken the approach of being like, we're just going to market to kids. Once you grow out of the phase, we got a whole new farm of kids that we can market to, and that's their process.
I like the idea of an actual farm filled with children that Activision goes to once a year.
I mean, that's basically what it is.
And they lure them into candy.
If you get into the legal aspect of it, it's pretty messy. Like the government does not understand how this works. I think I've heard of maybe one or two congressmen who was like, "Hey, this is gambling for children."
Yes,
which
the
maybe we
loot
can
box
explore
process
that in a future episode because it's pretty like it's a dirty game they play.
Oh, it's messed up.
Not even dirty game. I mean, just the idea that you can put equity in something that at some point the developer can choose that the equity no longer holds a value. I think that's probably the biggest issue around microtransactions, right?
Well, my big issue is that it's targeted towards kids. Like if you're listening and you have kids. And you're not aware of this, you need to look into the games your kids are playing.
You need to look. They are
even the friendly ones like Rocket League.
Fortnite's notorious for that.
Fortnite, V-Bucks, with Roblox, the Robux. I mean, every game has this monetizable aspect to it now because it makes game companies infinitely more money than it ever has been before. Video gaming has turned into a multi-billion-dollar industry very quickly. You know what I mean? Where it was just like, it was kind of this niche thing.
It's what record labels were in the 80s and 90s. It's happening in the
exactly.
industry now.
100%. Because now these gaming companies, these AAA gaming companies, their decisions are driven by board members
which is
and
really
stockholders.
Crazy.
Think about this, right? Like people are buying stock in Activision and they've never played a video game. Like that's probably the craziest thing about like the state of modern gaming today, that it's not driven by just some people who love making games and they want to tell a cool story. It's driven by people who are like, what is the most effective way for me to milk money out of your kid? Right.
Well, and you know who gets hurt the most is actually developers. If you look into stuff like Fortnite, those people are working like crazy hours a week.
Kotaku,
and they get burned out.
The ones that stay. The ones that stay,
you're right.
Jason,
so many people are leaving the industry because of that.
Yeah.
What were you saying, Alex?
Jason, the writer, he used to be a writer for Kotaku. He's like
Jason Schreier.
Yeah, he like went in and he's done tons of articles on like crunch time where like people are doing like 80 plus hours. Like Rockstar is really known for it. I don't know. It's like Rockstar like always has it like crunch time where it's like I think they were boasting at one point like 100+ hour weeks, and this was for like Red Dead Redemption 2, and it's just like for like all of this detail in the game, it's like, is it worth it? Do you need to see like the detail of a horse's testicles for a guy to like work 100 hours a week?
I think the bigger problem is again the fact that the video games, like 20 years ago, this would be such a crazy thing to talk about. But the fact that stockholders, shareholders are dictating when a game comes out, like let's look at the Cyberpunk situation, and then we'll transition since that's a good transition anyways to what else we want to talk about. But the CD Projekt Red, who made The Witcher, and then they released Cyberpunk 2077. They were pressured by shareholders to release the game. They released the game in a very incomplete state. The shareholders are mad. But the craziest thing about it is they're not the ones playing it. That is insane to me. That how they can dictate the production of a video game, and at the same time, they have no active say in anything else other than we want this to make us more money. And now CD Projekt Red, The Witcher game, the next Witcher game, that probably has been pushed back now to who knows when. Who knows when we'll see that game now.
Which is a shame. Have you guys played The Witcher? Any of
I
them?
love that game.
I've only played 1 and 2.
You got to play 3.
I've only
you
played
got to
3.
play 3. You got to play 3. 3 is probably the best one. It's the most polished one. It's got the best story. It's got the best DLC. It's a great game.
It's one of my favorite games of all time, to be honest. And
It's a
what's his
great
face? Well, how do you say his name? Henry Cavill.
Henry Cavill. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think he's beaten it twice at least, which is a pretty big achievement.
Yeah, it's a long game.
The dude, I don't know if people know this, he's a nerd, like a huge nerd. He builds his own PCs. He missed a callback from Zack Snyder because he was playing WoW.
Yeah.
So he missed a callback from Snyder about being Superman because he was playing WoW.
Henry Cavill.
It does not get any nerdier than that.
Wow, I said wow when you said wow. No pun intended.
Speaking of The Witcher and Henry Cavill, season 2 comes out on the 17th.
Ooh.
And really cool for those of you who are attending C2E2, you can get a early view of the first episode. On the 14th, you can see the first episode. They're going to do a stream of the episode and then a live Q&A with Henry Cavill.
I mean, they know that's going to end up on the internet, like
For sure. But you also have to think your casual Netflix viewer isn't going to look for it.
No, they're not going to.
Record fan will. Your casual Netflix watcher is not going to find it.
That's gonna go right on the internet exactly 3 minutes afterwards.
I love it.
That's cool. That's cool.
Which is fine. But
am I the only person that didn't finish season 1?
Dude, get on it.
You didn't finish season 1?
Get on
it. I watched like half of it, and I think I just kind of got bored and moved on.
I will say that season 1 I had a lot of issues with because the way it tells its story, I thought it was a little sloppy, and I think it sucks because if you read the books, then you kind of know where it's going. But if, of course, like anything else, if you haven't read the books, you're just like, what is happening? What is going on? Who's this guy? Who's that girl?
Right.
Where did this guy come from?
Very confusing. I watched the first season. Then I read the first 3 books. Then I rewatched the first season. And my second watch was so much more enjoyable. I actually didn't really like the show the first time I saw it. The second time I went through it, after having read the books, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I never read the books. I'm sure that would help.
Unfortunately, with a lot of these like lore heavy things like The Witcher or Wheel of Time, which I'm waiting for the season to end before I talk about that one. Or Dune, for example. The problem with these like lore heavy shows is that they have the benefit of knowing the ending, right? At like before it's they even start filming. So they're trying to like frame everything so that the ending makes sense. Because I think we all have to remember that a lot of these books, when they were written, the author didn't know how they were going to end it at the time. So a lot of storylines are kind of open-ended, in one book. So that's why things don't always match up all the time. With The Witcher, I feel like, the first season, at least it started at a good enough base. And I think there's a lot there so that they can build on it. I hope Henry Cavill stays on because he does have a tendency to kind of peace out from projects when it suits his whim. So I hope he stays. And we'll see, man. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm willing to give it a shot. Like, first seasons are always kind of 50-50 with the show.
Yeah. What you guys learn? Oh, sorry. You can
no, what? You can finish what you were saying.
I was just going to say, you always have to stick out for the first season because so many shows would have never made it to where they are if people didn't keep watching after the first season. I think the best example is Parks and Rec. I love that show. But if you were to base it on its first season, majority of people would probably never watch it.
Yeah, season 1 was easily the worst season, even though I still enjoy pieces of it.
Yeah.
Speaking of lore-heavy shows and movies, I just saw the announcement that Star Wars is having no films released for 2022, which I think is actually a good thing because as much as I love Star Wars, I think the world needs a little bit of a break from it. And I think Disney needs to actually allow people to write the movies before having a deadline for when it's finished. Like if I can recall,
the movies, they need to have a plan. They literally shot the last 3 films just like, I don't know, what do you want to do? And then they just, I think I agree with you.
But they had the deadlines for those films, if I can recall, like already announced, like it's coming out this
Yes.
date before they even
Right.
had like directors and writers and
Right.
like that is like I'm glad that they're going to focus a little bit on TV shows. It lets them like have a little bit more risk and diving into side characters. But like I need a break from Star Wars movies. Like
That dead horse needs a
I don't
rest.
want it. I know.
Yeah, it really does. Talk about beating a dead horse. It's like, and I love Star Wars. Those last three movies, let me just tell everyone here right now, The Last Jedi. I give it a thumbs up. The what was the last one? I can't remember. The Rise of the Skywalkers.
Yeah.
I give that 8 thumbs down.
That's was actually my favorite one out of the 3.
The
really?
Rise. I'm gonna tell you guys this right now, and I hope that we can fight with our fans about this. The Rise of the Skywalkers. I would rather watch episode 2 100 times than watch The Rise of Skywalker.
Wait, what were so it was The Force Awakens.
Yes.
What was the second one?
Second one was the Last Jedi.
And then the Rise of Skywalker. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. The Rise of Skywalker was, I couldn't even explain to you. Just we won't get into it now. But it was
okay to me. I would never rewatch them, but that's just me.
So one of us hates it. One of us thinks it's okay. One of us liked it. I didn't love it. I liked it only because they drew a lot from like the comics and books that came out when I was a kid. That's the only reason I like it. Other than that, not a fan of those sequel. The sequel trilogy.
Oh my goodness! No, I almost walked out of The Rise of Skywalker. Almost walked out like twice. I was just like, that was a painful. How long was it? Like 2 hours and 30 minutes, something like that. 3 hours maybe. It was
long enough. However long it was.
It's long enough that I will never watch the film.
I would never watch it again.
Yeah. And I can rewatch. I'm a fan of the Phantom Menace. I'm one of the few people that watched the.
No, you're not. You're not alone.
3D. All right, that movie's. I don't care what people say.
I love it.
Let me say,
Darth Maul is Darth Maul, and I want to fight people on this. Darth Maul is the best Sith Lord introduced as a character that at least in the cinematic movies. I don't want y'all coming with me with these dumb books. I was about to jump at you with Darth Rabbit.
You come at us all.
Darth Rabbit
in the comments.
I don't care. I don't care. I'm not talking about the books. Okay, don't come at me with some book written by your grandfather in like 1981. Like I'm not talking about that. Just talking about the movies. Darth Maul, great character. And they fleshed him out in the TV shows to the point where I'm just like, he's the best Sith Lord presented in the series.
No, you're right. I agree. When you look at the movies and the TV shows, he is the best. But I will talk about the books in the comments if you guys want to. Just saying.
There's too many.
Let's list
there's
them
too
all.
Many. No,
I've even read some of I've read Dark Horse era of Star Wars, but I haven't read much of the Marvel era of it.
Like the Dark Horse comics?
Wow. Yeah.
Dude, those were the days.
I think those are the so best ones.
Hands down the best. And that's what The Last Jedi drew from. Oh, not Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker. Let's not get into that. Let's move on. We're going to get into a hole with this one.
Josh, we can just go right into your comics if you want.
Yeah.
What about Wrapped? I want to hear about Wrapped.
Oh yeah. So for some people that don't know, Spotify every year releases what's called Spotify Wrapped. It basically shows like the top songs you listen to. It shows your top 100 tracks. It shows like your favorite artists. Like if you were like a top fan, basically goes into all this detail of like all this data that they're pulling from you. I love it. I am like I'm kind of a music snob. I like people knowing like my obsessions with songs. Didn't realize until this year that Spotify Wrapped is very controversial for a lot of people because they're like, cool, you're just celebrating data that you've already stocked from us, but like I'm weirdly okay with it because they make it fun. So I'm curious if either of you have done your Spotify Wrapped.
I haven't looked at it. I'm looking at it right now. My opening credits theme song is Mikasa by Veil of Maya.
That doesn't surprise me. I think I have a problem because when I looked at mine, my top artist was Fontaine's DC. my top 3 songs were from Fontaine's DC. Top two, and then it just goes into tracks from the Avalanches for like number 4 and 5. So like I feel like every year I find 2 bands and I apparently just stream them nonstop the entire year.
Apparently, I listen 85% more than, or more. I listen more than 85% of U.S. listeners. I don't know
Dang.
what that says about me.
For Veil Maya.
No, just in general.
Oh, what are your minutes?
33,000,
Guess what mine is?
184,000.
Oh, I wish.
Are
It's
there even that many minutes in a year? Somebody tell
no,
me.
mine's 55,731.
Oh, get it, man.
Wow. So I'm the black horse and the black guy of this group. I'm a twofer. I don't use Spotify.
Oh,
I use Google Play because it comes with YouTube Premium.
dude,
Hey,
you're right. You're right.
I'm okay with that though.
But I don't need an algorithm to tell you that my top artist of the year is Kanye. It's always going to be Kanye. And my most listened to albums of this year, obviously Donda, but we also had J. Cole's The Off Season,
Which was
we
great.
had Don Toliver's album. What was that album called? Life of a Don, which was really good. We also had. I know I'm missing one more album. Oh yes, Baby Keem's album. Baby
I
Keem,
love it.
Yeah,
I
Baby Keem's album.
love Baby Keem.
The melodic blue. That's what it's
Yeah,
called.
like I mean, the
So
Kendrick tracks are perfect, but like even the solo songs, like I think
yeah,
hold up just as
so
much.
I don't need a fancy algorithm to tell me what I'm listening to because those are the ones I've been listening to all year. There's some other ones, some smaller artists that I've listened to, but not as much as those.
Well,
So.
my number one song was "Love Is the Main Thing" by Fontaine's DC. They're an Irish rock band. If anyone's looking for some new music,
Shout out to their family.
This thing is so long. I'm gonna have to look at this later. This thing is so long.
yeah, it's a lot.
like-
You'll have to dig into
It's
it.
like 5 minutes long. All right, yeah. Let's move on.
Let's talk about comics.
Let's talk about it, nerds. All right, my pull list. So I'm gonna go over my pull list. If you're listening, you have a pull list. Let us know what you're pulling, what you're interested in. From Boom Studios, I'm pulling Basilisk number 5. Really cool story. I think Alex, you would be a fan. Marvel
What's it
has
called?
2. Basilisk.
Basilisk. I like the name.
Yeah, I'll send you a link later.
Yeah.
Marvel has 2 books I'm pulling that are really cool. One is called Voices Comunidades. Definitely just slurred that word because my Spanish is awful, even though I'm Latino, or at least half. It's about Latino superheroes. So it's like a one-shot anthology type of thing with all these different Latino superheroes. So I'm really excited to be reading that. And then there's also Wastelander's Hawkeye, which is like an Old Man Logan, but with Hawkeye. My pull list is actually pretty small this week. From DC, there's a new run of Batman, so we're starting at number 118.
I was looking at that, so I'm curious.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where this goes because, like I said last week, Fear State was really hyped, but the execution was just a little slower than people were hoping for. But I'll probably still check out this new run at least. I'm also getting Green Lantern number 9, and then Tom Taylor, one of my favorite writers, is doing Dark Knights of Steel number 2, which I think, Alex, you would also enjoy that story.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely look into both of those.
From this week, the books that I read, there were so many good books. It was so hard to decide what I wanted to talk about. So I'm going to give a few honorable mentions. The Me You Love in the Dark, the finale, final issue came out this week. Chef's Kiss. It was amazing. Batman the Detective finished this week. Another Tom Taylor book, was fantastic. And then Gotham City Villains was another really cool book that came out this week as well. The book
Almost all DC.
Yeah, yep. 2 DC and then 1 Image. I'm a Image DC fan. Well, I'm like a DC and indie fan. I like a lot of the smaller studios and then a lot of DC stuff as well. But the book I am going to talk about is so hyped right now on social media, especially on Twitter. Wonder Woman Historia, the Amazons. This book, guys, it changed my life. It was unlike any comic I've read in quite a long time,
Wow.
really. And I totally forgot to even mention it last episode on my pull list. And what's really interesting is DC announced this book before the creative team had any pages ready. So the creative team was like, all right, cool, like we'll do this project. And then a week later, DC is like, hey, world, guess what's coming out? And speaking of the
That's bold.
creators, the writer is Kelly Sue DeConnick. And I was looking up some interviews with her about writing this. And she said she used Great Courses Plus a lot just to do some research on what women's lives were like in antiquity, like back in ancient Greece. And being a woman, like she has that perspective. And so she's writing about women. And she had this really interesting idea that when writing women specifically, like the idea of putting the Amazons as better than men because men are dumb and violent, you're putting women on this pedestal. And the problem with putting someone on a pedestal is it's just another way of putting them in a box. She said it's not helpful, it's limiting, it's not equalizing, it continues to other us, which I thought was cool. Like it was very apparent she put a lot of thought into writing this. I don't know if you guys have read any of her stuff before.
No.
This was the very first issue I read of hers, but I have been wanting to read an issue she did with Dark Horse Comics called Ghost, which looks really cool. I've just noticed I was looking through her writing credits, and like a lot of her stuff looks really interesting.
Yeah, she's a G, man. Like a lot of people like her work. She's very talented, and she killed it on this book, man. It was the writing was so good. But I'll get to that more in a second. The art was by Phil Jimenez, which something I've noticed, and I've mentioned this to a few people. I feel like there's a lot of Latinos in comic books doing the art. Not a lot of writers, but a lot of artists. I don't know if that's true or not. It's just something I have noticed. What's really cool about what Phil Jimenez did on this was he did it digitally, and he learned to do it digitally as he was working.
Oh,
So he put out like one of the most beautiful books I've seen while learning how to do it. It was the first time. I forgot what app he used, like on an iPad or something like that, and that's how he did this book. And dude, like, crushed it. I believe he's gay. I don't want to assume that, but I believe that he is because he was talking about adding queerness into the comic book industry. And so you have a woman writing and then a gay man doing the art, which it's a cool injection of that kind of representation in the industry. I'm all about that. The colors in this book are like psychedelic at some points, and they're done by Hi-Fi. Going into the book itself, it's very much like a Homer-esque epic, and it's in this prestige format, which means it's bigger than your typical comic book, and it's done by the Black Label of DC, which is like their more mature content. Black Label this year has been killing it, in my opinion. A lot of really cool things have been coming out of that from DC, so I hope they continue to invest in that and give us quality writers and quality artists from that. It's written, there's the idea of tabula rasa, and in the start of the book, there's a quote saying how history is written by the victors, and that in the war between the gods and men and Amazons, the Amazons lost. And this book tells the Amazon history a little bit differently than we might expect. It tells us where the Amazons came from, and they were created by the Greek goddesses. And the Greek goddesses, the story starts off, and they're tired of the gods and of men. They see all the suffering that women around the world experience, and so they go to Zeus, who, if you know your mythology, Zeus is not a good guy. Pretty awful. And he basically just laughs at them. He's like, whatever. So they're, all right, cool, we're out. They peace out, they leave, and they do the secret ceremony, and then that's how they create the Amazons. We also get the background on, I always trip up on this name. I don't know if it's Hippolyta or Hippolyta.
I couldn't figure out how to say it. It took me like 5 reads.
So she's the queen of the Amazons, and you see her origin story in this, and is nothing what you would expect it to be. They took a way different approach with her background and her origin, and I loved it. I thought it was great.
So this is all DC?
This is DC. This is the same book, dude, from DC.
Jeez.
Dude,
cool.
they went hard on this book. It is so good. Like, the amount of excitement I had reading it and like prepping for the episode, dude.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of like cool books out there, but this one, it was just a nice breath of fresh air. It was dope, dude.
I
That's
have a hot
nice.
take against it.
Oh, let's
Uh-oh.
go, let's go.
I didn't love it.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
I
Let's
okay.
hear it.
I'll talk about the things I loved. I thought the art was very unique. It popped out in a way that I don't recall ever seeing in a comic. Uh, the detail of everything was really, really insane, but I felt like they put way too many things on each page to the point that it was like information
We were
overload for me.
overwhelmed.
And then
Overwhelmed.
the art, there's so much happening on the screen that like I got halfway through it and I actually just stopped looking at it at one point because I was just like
That's
I it's hurting my eyes trying to figure out what's happening. They occasionally break it into like your traditional comic format, and that's when I was like, all right, now I kind of like this. I just like I'm not sure if like the next book they're gonna like trim it down a little bit, but I just felt like this book was for Greek mythology fanatics, and I am not that. So like that was already like kind of a bit of a turn off for me. And it just yeah, I had too much going on. Like I just felt like they needed to like cut half of the art that was happening. Like it was just like let's see how many things we can squeeze onto this
interesting.
page.
That
It
happens.
was
That
really
happens with
overwhelming.
Yeah.
that happens
But
with
they
anime a lot.
Phil
In
Jimenez said that
anime,
was intentional.
Yeah.
Like
well, even
Oh,
if he's
he
really?
intentionally did it.
intentional,
Yeah,
that's
Oh, okay.
great, but I don't like what he did. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that
which
happens
is
in
fine.
anime all the time, where you have artists who sometimes, especially as an anime gets more popular, and so they can, they have a bigger team and they get bigger production. All of a sudden, the manga now is like cramped with just like stuff, and you're like, what is happening? Like,
yeah,
And like
it's
go into what you said about the Greek mythology. They actually took a lot of liberty, I guess you could say, especially in character design. Phil Jimenez was saying
that's all
how
Greek mythology.
well he was saying how it was more like he was more inspired by like French like Versailles stuff than he was by
Oh,
actual
okay,
Greek mythology, just in character
interesting.
design at least.
Yeah,
They did a lot
yeah, the
where
designs are intense.
yeah, I loved it, dude. I thought it was so cool. It was overwhelming at times, and so I would have to like pause my reading and then go back to it. But I do enjoy that.
that's cool.
I think I'll read the second issue just because I'm curious to see where it goes. Because I thought the ending, that was the thing. Like, I hated the beginning. I was kind of getting tired of reading it about halfway through, and then like the end I thought was really good. So like that was at least enough to like pique my interest for the next issue. And it is cool seeing like female writers doing like a predominantly female ran comic. And I just felt like it was very unique from typical Wonder Woman. I haven't read a lot of Wonder Woman, but like I didn't feel at all like anything I've ever seen from her or watched.
Yeah, it was definitely different. And
Hmm.
at the back of the book, there was notes on character design of the different Amazon tribes, and both looking at the art, reading the notes, and then looking at some interviews with Phil Jimenez, you can see there's a lot of diversity in the Amazons, like in the different tribes. Like you have people who look like they're like African tribes, or people who are from Asia, or people who look like like their typical Greek. And then there's also, oh man, I don't know the correct word for this anymore. Little person, is that the right word? I feel so ignorant right now.
Josh, someone's gonna have to yell at you
I'm
in
gonna
the
get
I think
canceled now,
comments
guys.
I think
section.
this is our last podcast.
Hashtag cancel
All
Josh,
right, see
guys.
you guys.
It
This
was a
was
good
Everyone.
the
run.
last one.
It was a good thing while it lasted. But anyways, one of the Amazon tribe leaders is a little person, which I thought was cool. Like you don't see
That's
that in
cool.
comics a lot.
Yeah, it's a
Um,
different type of representation.
right. Which
Yeah.
I would love to see more of that. You saw that in Game of Thrones. One of my favorite
Yeah,
characters, Tyrion
Tyrion's the
Lannister.
best
Dude, goat,
best character in the whole show.
Yeah.
goat.
It
Yeah,
has
But
potential. I just wish they would die down on the art direction.
which I do think they will. I think the second issue will either have different artists or they're going with a different style. Something about using modern art styles, I believe.
Hmm.
I could be totally wrong. If you're listening, tell me I'm wrong. Or tell me I'm right. That'd be nice too. And also, if you're listening, you have read the book. What's your tribe? I was hoping to have picked mine out by by the time we recorded, but I still can't pick one. They're all so cool looking.
You can post it on Instagram sometime.
I'm going to post that Instagram and Twitter. Twitter's been blowing up with that. Like, what's your tribe? And people picking which one they like the most.
All right, I'll pick my tribe too.
Yeah, let's get it. The three dudes picking their Amazon tribe.
Yes.
That's who it was written for, guys. It was written for us.
Yeah, man.
So what else? What else do you guys read?
So I, before I get into that, I actually did remember. I thought I wasn't gonna have a poll list this week, but I did remember there's an issue coming out that looks really cool. December 8th with Titan Books is Cowboy Bebop issue 1.
Cowboy Bebop.
It's interesting to me that it's in comic form. I could be wrong. I don't recall.
It's probably because of the Amazon show.
Oh yeah, I don't recall seeing that.
Netflix. Sorry,
Netflix.
Netflix. Have you guys seen it?
No, I refuse to. I loved the anime so much.
Can I just say
I know nothing about it.
Can I just say that I hate that Netflix is taking beloved anime and making live actions of them? I hate that so much. One Piece is my favorite anime of all time.
Wait, they made a live action?
They're making a live action of One Piece, and it's it's like, why must you do this? It's like that scene from Godfather.
Yeah,
to my boy.
Well, also
it's like Chappie. Why you do this?
Yeah.
Watanabe, like the director for Cowboy Bebop, and Samurai Champloo, which is my favorite anime of all time. Like he is a genius. I think like the way he implements music and transitions in all of his scenes is just like something that like I just don't think you could do in live action. His work doesn't come off designed for live action, but I am excited to check it out in comic format.
Okay. That's cool.
But that's my hot take with Cowboy Bebop, and maybe we could all force ourselves to watch the show and have a whole episode on that.
Unlikely.
But what's please not. But the comic I picked this week is DC. It's by Tom Taylor. It's Nightwing 2021 annual. Number 1. I've never read Nightwing. It's got Red Hood. I'm curious if either of you read or watched anything on either of those characters outside of I think Red Hood's in Captain America, right? Or no, that's Red Skull. Red Skull. I'm getting
Red Hood and Nightwing are in Young Justice.
Okay.
They if you guys are familiar with that show, really, really good show, by the way. But they, they're characters who rotate in and out of the show a lot. So I don't know too much about Nightwing. I know there's a game coming out that is starring all the Batman sidekicks.
Yeah, the Bat family, dude. I'm excited for that.
The Bat gang. So that's going to be pretty cool. So maybe I'll learn more about Nightwing. But
both of you probably know a little more from Call. It's usually Dick Grayson, right, Josh?
Yeah, that's Nightwing. He was the original Robin.
That's the original Robin, right? Okay.
Yes,
and
he's
then
the
Jason
original
Todd
Robin.
was the second or third one. Red Hood.
Yeah,
and he turns into who?
The Red Hood.
Jason Todd is the Red Hood. He's kind of I feel like he's a little bit more of an anti-hero than Nightwing is. But it's cool because in this issue, I don't know if it is typically, but they're brothers, and there's a lot of just like they both view like the way you should fight crime very different. Red Hood's always like willing to do a little more aggressive tactics, very shady. It's like he's technically like in the right, but like isn't always like doing what we would consider like a legal or morally right way to like do things. So it's
like the
really
Punisher.
Yeah, like the Punisher, but like not. Maybe not quite as
he starts out like that though. I think what happens is, spoiler alert, but this happened years ago. He gets killed by the Joker, and then gets resurrected in a Lazarus pit. And Lazarus pits make you go a little crazy. So he comes back and he's like, I'm going to start killing people. I'm going to start killing the bad guys.
Makes sense.
Yeah. But I think he's toned it down over the years.
Okay. That would make sense to me. I feel like this issue is a little lighter with it, but it's just really cool. Like you get this detective issue with both brothers basically trying to like figure out the same crime. It's hard to like discuss what that crime is without spoiling it. But Josh, did you read it?
I haven't read it yet. I haven't had time to, but I really want to.
I honestly don't want to spoil this one, but which is why I don't want to like jump too long into it. But like definitely check it out if you like a little humor in your detective comics, I just thought the writing was really, really excellent. It was full of twists for me the entire time. Like the main villain revealed, I haven't seen in a while. I can at least reveal him, but like Clayface is in this issue, and like
Oh,
I think
nice.
he's
Clayface. I
I
haven't
think
seen
he's
that guy
cool.
since the comic. I mean, since the TV show.
Yeah, I just feel like Clayface isn't like utilized that much in Batman history, and like he's a fun character for a villain.
Yeah. Is anyone else from the Bat family in it, or is it just Nightwing and Red Hood?
Nightwing, Red Hood, Batman briefly. Um, Alfred's in it, but there isn't like a whole lot of other characters that I recognized.
Okay, cool. Because in the Fear
Yeah,
State event, they brought them all together. Dude, I didn't realize how big the Bat family was. There's
there's a
like,
It's a big
there
family.
is a female in it, but I can't think of the character right now.
yeah, there's two Bat
Um,
girls, two Bat women, I think, technically, and then Nightwing. There's like two or three Robins, Red Hood. I
oh
Jeez.
think no,
wow,
there's two Robins, Damian and Tim Drake.
Damian is Batman's son?
Yeah, dude, in his series right now, also written by Tom Taylor, is
Yeah.
A1.
Really good.
well, this is great if you're looking to just see two Bat Bros hanging out. Like,
You're gonna say Bat Brats.
Bat Brats. I said I was a brat.
Bratwurst?
Yeah.
Two Bratwursts, duke it out.
If you like Batman and you like bratwurst, this is the issue for you.
Perfect. Two Bratwursts.
Lovely.
Two bratwursts fighting Batman.
All right. I'm sorry, Tom Taylor. Don't hate us.
Yeah.
Please.
R.I.P. My podcast career.
Let's
But
let's talk about TV shows.
yeah.
Let's get it.
You got
So
some
like
for us?
jumping into TV, I know this show ended a few months ago, but I just finished it this week. I think it was my favorite comedy to come out this year outside of maybe Dave. Have either of you seen Reservation Dogs, directed by Taika
No.
Waititi?
I have not, but
Taika,
I
No.
really do want to see it.
okay, well, first of all, Taika, I don't know if the man doesn't sleep. He's doing Thor Thunder. It's like he's doing What We Do in the Shadows. He's
He's
like,
doing two women at once.
yeah, he's doing two women at once. Maybe that's the energy. That's the energy that's keeping him going. That was a great transition. Uh, that's how, if you want to make 3 movies and like 2 TV shows in 1 year, I guess that is the strategy.
That's what you got to do. He's
Yeah.
got the playbook. Yeah,
Uh,
he's a really great director. If you haven't seen Jojo Rabbit, probably in the same vein as this show in terms of comedy, I'm assuming, right?
yeah, Jojo
Yeah.
Rabbit's great, but like what's a little unique with this is like the basic concept is it follows the lives of like 4 indigenous teenagers. They live in
Mhm.
like a small town in Oklahoma, and like it doesn't reveal it until later, but like basically their their like best friend passes away, and because of this they want to honor him and like go to California, but they also like hate they're like talking the whole time about how they like hate where they grew up and how they're like bored of their lives. So it has a lot of like teenage drama, but then because it's Taika, there's just certain characters that show up and you're like, oh, yep, that's a Taika film. That's some Taika humor right there.
That's what I figured.
A lot
Yeah.
of very like offbeat, just like unexplainable like humor that they don't really need to throw in. I feel like it was kind of it had really good reviews, but I feel like the show wasn't as discussed just because like it is about indigenous teenagers. It has a lot of like humor and culture that's like specific to like their area, and like I didn't understand some of it, so I honestly had to like Google like some of the references they used, but I thought that was cool. Like it kind of wrapped me up into a culture that I like unfortunately don't know a lot about. But like the show features all indigenous writers and directors and an almost entirely indigenous North American cast and production team, which I don't feel like has happened before, at least on like a
Right. I
mainstream.
don't think so either.
Hey, I
Yeah.
don't know
Mainstream
anything
show.
like that. That is so cool. It
Yeah.
makes me want to watch it even more now.
When did this show come out?
It came out in the summer. I believe it ended. The last episode, I believe, ended in October.
Okay,
So it's still
I'm gonna give a
it's
hot
still
take.
recent.
I think we haven't heard a lot about it is because FX that Fox, I think it's Fox Century that's owned by Disney now.
Hmm.
But Disney themselves, they don't really know how to cater to people of color at all, and so I think it's just one of those shows that they just didn't know what to do with.
You can tell. It's unfortunate too, because like
Yeah, yeah.
the show is great. I forgot to mention too. It's written by I believe his name is pronounced Sterling Harjo, like
Mm-hmm.
with a J sound, but like he is also
Is he
indigenous.
native, indigenous? Okay.
Yeah, so it's just like I think you're right. Like a lot these huge companies like Disney, like they don't know what to do with these like smaller format comedies with a very very specific cast of people
I
of color.
and I only say that because you brought up Dave, and I
Yeah,
love Dave, but I also love Atlanta more. I think Atlanta is a better show. It's a better written show.
Atlanta's
It has a
perfect.
it has a better cast, and I find it very bizarre that like both shows kind of touch. I mean, they could even do a crossover episode, honestly, and both shows kind of touch on similar themes. But it took what 4 years for Atlanta to get a third season. I find that really wild. But that's another conversation for another day.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
that'll be a deep talk on that
Yeah,
kind of stuff.
yeah,
yeah, that's a
yeah.
whole episode too. But like, definitely check out Reservation Dogs if you're looking for a comedy that like, it had a lot of good talking points that I feel like discuss depression, suicide, like just like struggles that a lot of like teenagers and young adults go through. But it was done in like this very very like kind of fun and humorous way. And if you're a fan of Taika Waititi, like definitely jump into
Yeah.
this.
What we do in the shadows, season 3 was great. So
I still haven't seen it.
like
I missed the launch, and I'm obsessed with that
I
show.
I always kind of felt that Taika does a better job with Quirky than Wes Anderson. I feel like Wes Anderson, people love his movies, and then people love his movies, and I just never really gravitate to his comedy. I just always feel like it's kind of just very like someone told me it was funny, so it's funny type of comedy. Um,
I think Wes Anderson's typically really funny, but like it depends on the script. It depends on the actors he's using, and like his movies, I feel like are more like visually pleasing to look at. Just funny because like Taika's Jojo Rabbit, I feel like is the most similar Wes
visually,
Anderson film I could think of. Yeah,
and it's hilarious. But also, that look. All I'm trying to say is, I get what Wes Anderson tries to do. I feel like Taika does that better in his films and his the things he directs. So
I have to agree.
yeah.
But I would like to see Taika direct the film you're about to talk about. I think that would
Oh
be
Dear
hilarious.
God.
man.
Could you
Okay.
You know,
imagine?
Let's talk
anything,
about
anything would have been better.
let's talk about movies. And ladies and gents
Wait,
listening
can
to
we
this.
cue the Eminem theme song like at this
Oh,
part?
Venom 2. They literally I don't even know where to start with this. It took me all week to watch this movie because I've been putting this off for months. Venom, Let There Be Carnage, a Sony Pictures film. I think we may have talked about this before, that I hate that Sony is trying to make their own cinematic universe. I think that
Yep.
is just
It's not
I think
not working.
it's not working.
It
It's just not
doesn't need to
working.
happen.
It's one of the reasons why I kind of feel that they probably relented and they announced that they're making 3 more movies with Tom Holland, because honestly, how can you ignore what happened with the MCU and try to walk backwards with that? So I knew that wasn't going to last very long. But Venom, Let There Be Carnage was directed by, I believe, Andy Serkis, right?
Which the dude is a legend. He is
Yes,
so
he is. He's an
good, so talented.
he's a very talented actor, and for a long time, when CGI really wasn't being recognized as a viable film technique, his work really went underrated.
It still does.
He did Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, a lot
Rise
of
of the
people
Planet of the
don't
Apes. He plays
realize
Caesar.
what he's
Yeah,
in.
he plays
Yeah.
Caesar, and those Planet of the Apes movies are phenomenal movies. I mean, he's in a lot of stuff. So I don't know if I don't think this is his first directing opportunity.
Yeah, I'm
But
not sure if it is either.
I don't think it is. However, so I'm just gonna layer this right now and just say spoiler alert, because I just don't really think there's anything in this film that I feel like if you were gonna watch it, you would have seen it already. And at this point, like, I'm saving you the time. And the craziest thing about this, let me start here. The movie's only 97 minutes, and let me tell you, you will feel all 97 minutes of this movie. The plot of the film is Woody Harrelson plays Cletus Cassidy, who is this unstable serial killer. He calls Tom Hardy's character, Eddie Brock, to, if you remember, Eddie Brock is a reporter. So he calls him to his cell and he's like, "Hey man, I want a one-on-one interview," which off the bat, that doesn't happen. When
Don't ever do that with
like,
Tom Hardy either.
Yeah, but that just doesn't happen. So he calls him to his cell and he says, "Hey man, I want to just talk to you." Tom Hardy and Venom, or I should say Eddie Brock and Venom, I should say, discover that he was hiding like bodies off like a coast. They do some dumb Inspector Gadget style detective work, and they find these bodies. So Cletus is now put on death row. And so the whole film is based around this interaction, because when Woody Harrelson asks, or I keep calling Woody, Cletus, when Cletus asks Eddie to visit him in the cell one more time before he dies, they have an altercation, and part of the venom goes into his body, and that's what creates carnage. And so when he breaks out, he kills. Then Venom and Eddie Brock are like, "We got to stop him." That is the movie. That is the movie. Like, in its nutshell. It's not very layered. It's not very, very well thought out. And I think for me, one of the most difficult things that I struggle with these types of movies is that it's not bad and it's not good. It's a movie that simply exists. And I didn't feel any of the performances were very organic. Like, I felt like Woody Harrelson was really hamming it up in this movie. I also don't really like Tom Hardy playing Venom, or Eddie Brock, I should say. I just don't think that really what he's trying to do for that character and what that character typically is in like the TV shows and the comics. I just don't really feel it doesn't work for me. And I think the part I hated. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'll say, who plays Carnage again in this?
Woody Harrelson. So he's
what character name?
Cletus Cassidy.
See, I
don't even know. Is Cletus part? Is that who normally is Venom?
Well, there's multiple.
Yeah.
There's multiple people that play Carnage, but I just want to see the universe of Carnage played by the dead version of Gwen Stacy, which is probably not going to happen.
Ooh, that is
cool. I'm here for
that. That is a universe.
I'm glad you brought this up, because that at its core, my biggest issue with the movie is that I kept asking myself, who is this movie made for? Is this movie made for kids? Is it made for adults? Like the movie is literally called Let There Be Carnage. I would argue a very small amount of carnage actually occurred in the film. I feel like a big mistake with these Venom movies is that they made them rated PG-13. And so the kid gloves are really, 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 really on. And this whole like thing that they use Venom, where Venom is essentially the comedic, he's the comedic punchline. It gets really old. It gets really, really, really old. Like, there's no. I feel like I'm watching the Three Stooges when every interaction that Eddie Brock has with Venom. They're just
want that.
I
want Venom to be terrifying. I want him to like where I can't sleep at night after I've seen him in a scene.
Exactly. And like on a micro perspective, like I 100% agree with you that it's just like, this isn't what Venom is. Venom is a villain So I don't know why we're making Venom a good guy. Like that to me is the just most bizarre thing about this whole thing, and that he's like he has jokes, and he's like a funny parrot. Never mind the numerous inconsistencies. Like I get it, it's a comic movie, but you can still try to make things like make sense. Like a very reused comedic, I guess you could say, punchline that they constantly use in the movie is that Eddie Brock is talking to Venom because Venom is talking in his head, but he is verbally responding back to Venom, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me. If you can hear Venom in your head, why can't he hear you from yours? Like
I don't recall him verbally speaking in the comics.
But just conceptually, if they're symbiotic, isn't that what that means? Like, oh my god. Okay, and then we get to like just the last third of the movie, which is just my favorite part of these Venom movies: the Blob fights, where it's just Blob A is fighting Blob B, and they're just going at each other. The pacing of this movie was just. I was impressed. I gotta be honest with you, because this whole movie took place, I would argue, within the span of like, I mean, it felt like it took place within the span of 2 days, a day and a half. And we're supposed to believe that there's. I think the worst scene, and if any of our listeners are gay, if you could just tell me if you felt like this was pandering, is that when Venom and Eddie Brock separate, Venom goes to a gay club and he has this whole rant about how he's not wanted, and it's like insinuating like, oh, he's not, like, the people there think that he's not wanted by his lover, but he's really talking about Eddie Brock. I just felt like it just went on way too long, and it really wasn't that funny. So if you're gay and you listen to our podcast, like, let me know what you felt about that scene, because I felt like that was just really out of place. I felt that was weird. I'm like, this isn't. What is the joke?
That was a gay club? I definitely did not pick up on that.
That's what I insinuated. That's what I did see it. That's why I keep saying, who is this movie made for? If it is, I felt like that's the joke that it was trying to make, and I'm like, what kind of joke is that? That's a weird joke. Like, why would I don't get it? I personally don't get it. It was a weird movie.
Josh, did you like it?
No, man. It like
neither of you liked it.
No, which, you know what, AJ, we gotta get you to watch something you like the next episode.
I mean, we can watch. Look, what you guys don't know about me, I'll watch any movie. I'll take enjoyment from anything. I knew this movie was gonna be flaming horse poop, because
at least you can check it off the list.
Wait, is it Cheeks?
It's double cheeks. It's double cheeks. Yeah, this movie. So here's the thing. I said this before. I can enjoy a bad movie, and obviously I can enjoy a good movie. But movies like this, where it's neither good or bad, it just exists. I just feel like this is such a waste of time. It's such a waste of everyone's time. I think, number one, to fix these movies, I love Tom Hardy, but he can play many other characters in the MCU or Sony universe. He doesn't have to be Eddie Brock. Venom being a good guy really takes the teeth out of what Venom is. Make
him a villain, keep him a villain. That's all.
Well, not just that. You guys read comics, so you guys tell me. I thought the whole idea behind Venom was that Venom amplifies your inner monster, right? Isn't that the whole idea of Venom? That, like, he's this amplification because he's a symbiote, right? And he's attaching to you. He's taking all the quote unquote bad things about you. And that's what Venom is. So the commentary is like, this is the monster inside of you. That's why Carnage is quote unquote such a worse monster than Venom, because Cletus is a bigger monster. I always thought that was like the idea behind the symbiote relationship between their hosts. They just kind of threw it out the window.
I think that's what it was in the comics.
Okay.
I do think he's a hero now. There's the whole King in Black run or event that ended recently in Marvel, and I think Venom is a hero now.
Well, there's also an issue where Venom tries to be a hero in the 90s, but like Spider-Man's being a dick and he keeps like getting in his way. I used to have this issue. I cannot remember, so if anyone remembers.
Well, isn't
I know
there
it's a 90s one though.
Isn't there like at some point, isn't Venom attached to some type of like war hero that is part of the Guardians of the Galaxy at some point.
Oh, it's
Or
another
am I not remembering that correctly?
Flash Thompson.
Okay.
He becomes Agent Venom. He's a soldier. He like gets his legs blown off or something, and then he gets the symbiote and becomes Agent Venom, I think.
But even then, I always kind of felt that like I always assumed that the idea behind the symbiote was just like it's taking what you already are and amplifying it. And so, you know, Eddie Brock may not be the best person, so it's just, you know, that's what Venom is. I feel like at this point, it's like the first like 30 minutes of the movie, Venom is complaining about that he's hungry and he wants to eat bad guys.
Yeah,
so
that got old really quick.
I'm just like, okay, we get it. Yeah,
it was really funny at first.
But that leans into my point that it's just like, okay, we get it. Like if you want to make Venom funny, there are funnier ways to do this. So it's very interesting that Alex said that he wanted to see Taika direct these, because I think Taika would do a bang up job directing a Venom movie.
Like, ironically, it probably would actually be good.
But not because Taika's what we do in the shadows, I can see that style of humor working with what Sony's trying to do with Venom.
It's like dark and coy. It's perfect.
Dark, yeah. At the same time, where I just feel like with this, it's just like, okay, you're making the same jokes. I mean, even having Eminem do a remix or a second part to Sony was just like, let's put this movie in a computer, and whatever comes out of this computer, that's the movie we're making. There was no director. Andy Serkis didn't direct this. It was just computer generated nonsense. Yeah. So that's 2 cheeks. That's 4 thumbs down. I cannot not recommend this movie enough, because it was just bad. It was just not fun to watch.
If you haven't seen it and you're listening, just look up the end credits scene on YouTube. That's honestly all you need to see.
That's the only part you need to see. And that's it. Yeah, that's the only part you need to see.
I'll make sure to watch just that part.
Just watch the end credits.
Do that.
Yeah, just watch the end credits, and I promise you, there's nothing you will miss from watching the actual film. So yeah, that's it. Please don't make me watch another bad movie, guys. That's
it, boys.
You know what? Next week we're gonna, or whatever you watch next, AJ, we're gonna make you watch something good.
Hopefully, I hope so.
But let's get out of here, guys. That's it for our show. If you like what you heard, subscribe so you can stay up to date on all of our content. If you're on YouTube, hit the like button. If you're on a platform that allows it, not use Spotify, drop us a comment and or rating to tell us what you thought. All that is super appreciated because it helps the channel grow. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at Bandwagon Fan Pod, as well as on Facebook and YouTube at The Bandwagon Fan. We also have a Discord that will link on our socials. You can find episodes wherever you listen to your other favorite podcasts. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you in the next one.
Bandwagon is hosted by Josh Jimenez, Alex Magosa, and me, AJ. Our show is produced and mixed by me, again. Our theme song is Lush Waves by Taylor Lewin of _audio. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you soon.